Do you like playing with balls? No, I'm not talking about footballs. I mean your balls. Our friends at Manscaped, the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming, want you to shave your pubes with the Tom Brady of ball trimmers, the brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Only the GOAT technology for the greatest balls of all time. When you're going towards the end zone, make sure you use the right tools for the job and choose Manscaped. 2 million men worldwide trust them, so join the movement with our exclusive offer by using code DTR at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping.
Stafford under pressure, and tuck it in. He's in! Darrell Henderson, he's off and running! Has Woods, touchdown! Cooper Kupp just went up and took it away.
Van Jefferson for the touchdown.
Aaron Donald smothers him. Jalen Ramsey with the pop-up. Sacked by Leonard Floyd, having a day again.
Darius Williams with a diving hit. Jordan Fuller comes up with his second interception of the night.
All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm your host, Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co-host, Jake Ellenbogen. And guys, with the NFL season here, you need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS. You may already know this, but BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That is BETUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses. Join now or call 800-69-BET-US. That is 800-MY-BET-US. You receive a 125% sign-up bonus by using bonus code RAMS125. They have re-up and referral bonuses also. BetUS is known as America's favorite sportsbook for a lot of reasons. BetUS has all your NFL games with team and player props and loads of futures. You can bet UFC matches, props, PGA golf, round matchups, and live betting on most sports as well. The online casino has hundreds of games, and the racebook has all your horse tracks. They have every bet type imaginable, and the sharp BetUS mobile platform is easy with full betting options. Follow my lead and get your phone, online, and social sports betting partner with integrity and longevity like I did. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. All right, Jake. We're coming to everyone a day after our Los Angeles Rams lost to our division rival, the Arizona Cardinals, 37-20 in Los Angeles. This is the game that I think most of us are already ready to forget. It's a game that pretty much went wrong on both sides of the ball and just had a lot of really weird, a lot of disappointing, a lot of confusing, and quite frankly, just like a lot of embarrassing situations. And you know, it's definitely not the way that either one of us expected this game to go. I think it didn't go the way a lot of Rams fans expected this game to go. And honestly, a lot of people who weren't even Rams fans, you know, even if they had the Cardinals winning this game, they didn't expect it to be by this much. You know, 37-20 is not a blowout per se, but it's still a 17-point difference in the score. So it's not like it was a close game. And I think if you watch the game, which I think most of us, you know, you and I obviously, and then most people listening to this podcast probably did, the Cardinals dominated the whole time. And it just did not go the way that anybody wanted it to go. And, you know, I'll kind of give my opinion real quick, and then I'm going to let you give yours, and then we're going to talk about a couple different things. But for starters, I want to talk about our defense. Actually, no. Here's what I want to say real quick. I want to give credit to the Arizona Cardinals first, which like makes me really sad that I have to do this, but I am fair and I am reasonable, and I think most of us are. The Arizona Cardinals played a really good game. That's basically what this game came down to. They played better than we did. On every side of the ball, you know, everything that they did, they just played better. And that happens. And I give them credit for doing that. But I also give them credit for, you know, doing something that the reigning Super Bowl champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, could not. And that was basically dismantling our defense. And a lot of that had to do with Kyler Murray, and we'll talk more about that. But our defense did not play well. it was really, really pathetic, honestly, to watch some of those plays and just the confusion going on out there. And I know a lot of people are mad at Raheem Morris. And honestly, I don't really have an opinion on that. I'm kind of undecided at who's at fault, if a specific person's at fault, or what it was about our defense that just seemingly crumbled. But, Arizona's offense basically ran through us on defense. And then our offense, we just could not get anything done. I mean, Matthew Stafford had the worst game of his season. And, it wasn't a horrible game by any means. Not like he went out there and just absolutely bombed, but he made a lot of throws that were off target. Our receivers dropped some passes that I feel like they normally don't drop. And we're going to get into this again later, but the run game just did not happen as much as I think it should have. I think that when we ran the ball, we actually had success. And for whatever reason, Sean McVay didn't want to run the ball. I don't know if that was because, of Henderson's injury. If it was, then why would he not put in Sony Michel? So I don't know why that was, but it seemed like the one thing that worked for us was running the ball, and we didn't do it. But I don't want to ramble on. So Jake, what's your brief synopsis of this Cardinals versus Rams game?
Well, I think looking at this, I've now watched the game twice. I know I put myself through another horror movie, but I watched the game twice. And what I found is that pretty much kind of the same thing I was thinking during the game. Not really a lot changed. I don't think Matthew Stafford played horribly. He ended up with an 89.5 passer rating. Didn't take a sack, did a really nice job of eluding pressure. He had one interception early on in the game that I think, kind of spooked McVay. And so I think that's why, he abandoned the run. It's why he got all, out of sorts. I think they had a game plan coming in that probably would have worked. I think they wanted to run the football and, really focus on attacking Vance Joseph's defense that, I think, if anything, you can give the Cardinals a lot of credit, but the Rams showed everyone that the Cardinals are not only legit, but they also have a serious Achilles heel, and that is the run defense. And I think the Rams really attacked that, early on, and then just like you said, kind of just abandoned the run. Darrell Henderson averaging 6.4 yards per carry, looked like he was, in for, his best career game, but he only ran 14 times. So, it was a big missed opportunity there. You had the Sony Michel fumble, which I think really hurt the Rams. But, just sticking with the offense here before we get into the defensive side, I think the biggest knock on Stafford in this game was that he targeted Cooper Kupp 13 times, and everyone else you're looking at, Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, Robert Woods, and Darrell Henderson 6, Deshaun 3, and Johnny Munt for 1. Targeting Kupp that much, I think, is starting to. It's not a concern yet, but I mean, that's like what Jared Goff would do, and Matthew Stafford, I have not seen him be this reliant on a wide receiver since Calvin Johnson. To be honest with you, I always felt like he did a really nice job of spreading the ball around. Like you saw Kyler Murray, yes, he's got DeAndre Hopkins, but he threw to him 7 times. He threw to AJ Green 6, Max Williams 5, Chase Edmonds 5, Rondale Moore 3, James Conner 2, and he threw 1 to Christian Kirk. As you can see, there's just more, like as far as spreading the ball around, there's just more balance. So I was a little surprised by that because I don't feel like Stafford has really done that this year. I know he's preferred Kupp, but that was ridiculous with the 13 targets. Now, he did overthrow Kupp a few times, but Kupp also dropped some passes, key passes early on in the game. And we could talk about how great he's been this year. But I don't think Kupp is getting enough blame for his early drops in this one that really kind of took them out of rhythm early on. You look over at the guy that was right there with him in receiving yards, Deebo Samuel in San Francisco, and he had another 2-touchdown, 150-plus yard game. So, obviously you don't want to hold everything against Kupp, but that's not something I've seen mentioned. Robert Woods I've seen mentioned and has been thrown under the bus. He caught a touchdown. He caught 4 or 6 targets. Kupp only caught 5 of his 13. That's a horrible catch percentage. Van Jefferson really looked good in this one, showed, that reliability, had the touchdown like I predicted. Definitely not going to take that W though, because they lost. And like I said, Henderson ran well. But looking at the defensive side of the ball, I don't think people that are blaming Raheem Morris for everything just need to understand that it's not as simple as that. The defense is not necessarily playing bad, so to speak. It's not that they are, it's not like they're not doing their, or you know what I mean? It's not like they're actually getting beat off the ball 10 yards. They're giving the Cardinals yard after yard, and there's a reason for this. And I've talked about this on Twitter way too much, but I'm going to mention it again. If you thought Wade Phillips' defense in the Super Bowl against New England was a lockdown defense, was stifling, was dominant, you're right. But here's the thing. That defense gave up a ton of yards to the eventual Super Bowl MVP, Julian Edelman. Here's the thing. They run a bend, don't break style defense. And for people that don't know what that is, it's essentially, hey, we're going to give you all these yards inside the 20s, and you can have those, but we're not going to let you get in the end zone. Well, the Rams early on, that plan, what's the point of the plan, really? The point of the plan is to avoid the deep play, right? You keep everything in front of you. You avoid getting, blown off the ball. You avoid the big, explosive plays. The problem with that is that when you do that, you have to make sure without a shadow of a doubt that you are not giving up touchdowns. And if you are, you're at least scoring them on the other end. Why do you implement the bend, don't break? I don't love it, but I get it. The reason you implement it is for an offense like this. Not this particular offense, the way they played, but this offense so far this season has been one of, if not the most explosive. So up to this point, the Rams are game planning to have an explosive offense and hold Kyler Murray and the Cardinals to field goals. So it comes down to poor execution, because the game plan, if executed, would have worked. If you really think about it, if they hold Arizona on that first drive after the Rams kick a 42-yard field goal, it is 3-3. After that, Van Jefferson on a nice 9-play drive that went almost 5 minutes, you end the quarter and it is 10-3. And then you go in the second quarter and say the Max Williams 14-yard touchdown, instead you hold him to a field goal. Okay, that's now 10-6. And the James Conner 1-yard touchdown run, you hold him to a field goal, it's 10-9. But here's the problem. While you'd still be winning in that case, you can see they're not scoring touchdowns, because Matt Gay kicked a 22-yard field goal, which put them down 21-13, which would have been 13-9 if the defense held them to field goals. You can't expect the defense to hold them to a field goal every time, but so the first 3 red zone appearances, Arizona scored touchdowns. That has not happened all year. So, that's not conducive to winning football. And furthermore, the earlier play of David Long with his lack of coverage on, AJ Green allowing the big play and not getting enough depth in his zone, where, 2 plays earlier, you had a DeAndre Hopkins 20-yard play. This is the issue, is that it's just poor execution. David Long cannot give up that touchdown, because now you're playing this bend, don't break. You're kicking field goals instead of touchdowns. And on top of it, you're giving up these giant plays. And that is exactly what the bend, don't break is supposed to avoid. So, Alexis, I think the defense did play bad. They didn't execute correctly. But I think it's bits and pieces. The problem is Raheem Morris has to make an adjustment, because when they realize that, hey, we're not going to be able to stop Kyler Murray with this bend, don't break, because he's just going to break us every time. They didn't really adjust to it. They did, but what they did is they played into his hand. So when they realized they couldn't sack him, they were starting to send the house as far as sending 4 or 5 or 6 guys and blitzing him. You're playing into his hand, because essentially when you blitz a quarterback that can run, if he gets by you, that means there's less guys in the backfield, or in the secondary, so to speak, the second level, that can tackle you. So that's why Kyler Murray was able to carve them up all game long. Who, by the way, credit to Kyler Murray. He's playing at an MVP level. Right now, he would have the award if I was voting. The Cardinals dominated time of possession. Once again, the Rams have not won a time of possession battle all season. I do think that is a little bit of a concern. But what this comes down to is 2 turnovers the Rams had. This splash defense didn't generate any turnovers after generating 2 in the first game, 2 in the first 2 weeks back to back in the first drive. And then they actually got a 3-and-out on the first drive against Arizona in this one, and Arizona just stepped up. They made adjustments, and they made the Rams pay. And really what it comes down to is this: the Rams still, with all of their miscues, their turnovers and everything, they still probably beat more than 20 teams in this league. That's what I can't stress enough. The problem is when you're dealing with Kyler Murray, the way he plays, the way he can work off script, and his running ability against this type of style defense, when you're, having these miscues, he turns these into straight up daggers. There's not many quarterbacks in this league that would have put 37 on this Rams defense, even though the Rams didn't really play all that well. And this is the thing. The Rams really might have won this game, and they might not have learned any sort of lesson. It's almost better that they lost week 4 early on the season against Arizona, because you learn nothing if you win this football game. You learn a lot more when you lose, because then it's telling you, okay, so we can't play like that. We can't be complacent. Sean McVay's fourth down conversion rate is definitely concerning, because they're not really going for it. They're kicking field goals. It's not good. And so I think that there's a lot to unpack with this game. I tried my best as far as to kind of recall, a few different things here and there. There's just so much. But at the end of the day, it is just one game. There's people that are acting like the sky is falling. This is a 3-1 team, not a 1-3 team. Can't stress that enough. And so I think, if anything, going back and watching, the second time around for this game, I kind of realized that the Rams, even still with all their issues, had a shot. You go back, and NFL.com has a great article on this. Second quarter, with 3:25 remaining, the Rams are trailing 21-10 and facing 4th and goal from the Cardinals' 4-yard line. Matt Gay makes a 22-yard field goal to cut the deficit to 8. Basically, what they decided to do is kick the field goal instead of going for it. They would have had a 39% chance to win, according to NFL.com, had they gone for it and gotten a touchdown. However, because they kicked the field goal, their win probability went from 28% to 25%. So it actually dipped. And then in the third quarter, you have a 6:28 remaining in the third quarter, trailing 27-13. You're facing 4th and 4 at the Cardinals 27. Matt Gay misses the 46-yarder. And, essentially what ends up happening is that, there was a 67% probability to make that. And Matt Gay misses it. And so what it does is now all of a sudden you have a 3.4% probability to win the game at that point. So, the Rams really just, I thought McVay was off. I thought everybody was off. I mean, obviously Ramsey played really well, Henderson, and, of course, Van Jefferson. But this was not a good game for the Rams. And they'll look to just scrape this one away and go to Seattle and, obviously bounce back. And I think they do. But that's the focus moving forward. Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up on their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS, that is BETUS.com, or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS, BetUS, for 125% bonuses with promo code RAMS125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry, BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Ready for an out-of-world experience, fellas? Look no further than the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped. That has just taken off in not only the USA, but Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your whole solar system in. First scheduled for liftoff, new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. This spaceship is here to guide you on a journey to trim your body, balls, butt, and even your anus. This 4th generation trimmer also features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. Thanks to our advanced skin-safe technology, the Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor and a new multifunction on and off switch that can engage a travel lock and is even waterproof. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4000K LED spotlight you can turn on and off when needed for a more precise shave throughout your travels across the universe. The Performance 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker. It's like having a little astronaut to chop your worst weeds up the top of your nose and your ears. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Don't forget about the Crop Preserver, ball deodorant, and the Crop Reviver to help your little planets be on their A-game while feeling the sun's heat. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Abort hairy balls, Buzz Lightyear that Woody with Manscaped.
Yeah, I mean, I just think this game, like we both touched on, was just really sloppy and a lot went wrong. And, you know, of course, it's surprising to see people, you know, our receivers dropping passes and Matthew Stafford not being accurate and all that type of stuff that goes into, you know, just personal performance. But, you know, I kind of want to touch on the run game because, you know, it just seemed like for whatever reason, Sean McVay didn't want to run the ball, which was very weird because that was the one thing that I thought worked on offense because when the passing game didn't work. I mean, Matthew Stafford, like we said, he wasn't hitting receivers consistently. Our receivers were dropping passes. Arizona's secondary was playing very well and breaking up a lot of passes. So, you know, it just seemed very bizarre that every time Henderson got the ball, I mean, he was averaging at one point, you know, 9 yards per carry, that McVay just shut down the run game. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm not sure why that is. Again, the only thing that makes sense would have been if he wanted to limit Henderson's carries. But okay, that's fine. We have Sony Michel, so put Sony Michel in and have him run the ball. I mean, why do you think Sean McVay didn't run the ball? Do you think there's a valid reason, or do you think it's just, you know, poor coaching?
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with his injury, because if it did, then they wouldn't have had him start. I think what it comes down to is this is something that Sean McVay has dealt with, you know, throughout his Rams coaching tenure and going back to Washington as an OC. He's known for this stuff. You know, as great as he is not perfect by any stretch. His red zone efficiency is not very good. It is his Achilles heel. And the game flow, you know, managing the run game, managing the pass game. He tends to get really pass happy. And I think, you know, it's started. I mean, it's obviously been around for a while, but, you know, now that Stafford's your quarterback, you know, you shouldn't have to be all worried. You know, you should stick to the game plan. And, you know, I was not a fan when they abandoned the run the third quarter. I didn't understand it. I mean, Darrell Henderson on top of it got you that 15-yard run play, got you down on the 4-yard line. Punch it in with him, you know. And I just, to me, Darrell Henderson was on pace to have his best career game, and I think they wasted it. And to be honest with you, Vance Joseph's defense can't stop the run. So I mean, this game would have been completely different. I think once they abandoned the game, they abandoned the run game, they were doomed. Because like I said, you know, the defense couldn't stop the run. They sold out to stop Cooper Kupp. They tried to take him out of the game. The Rams were still trying, you know, 13 targets his way. We're trying to keep him in the game. I wasn't really, I did not feel good about the fact that Sean McVay abandoned the run. I'm hoping he learns from that. Like at some point it just clicks like, oh yeah, I should probably not do that. I understand the Sony Michel fumble changed the game, but I feel like he just got spooked. I mean, you're down 11. You're not down 21. You're not down 31. You're down 11. And we talk a lot about his 40-0 record when leading at halftime. But, here's the thing. That as great as that is, and that is definitely very impressive. Do you know what that means, Alexis? That means 6 and 21 when, or 6 and 22 when losing at halftime. So he is 6 and 22 when losing at halftime. That's not at all good. I mean, that's a very bad record.
Well,
it makes sense, but it's because obviously when you're losing at halftime, you're more likely to lose a game than you are when you're winning. But 6 and 22 is like an awful record. You'd like to see that more, around the 50, right around 500. That's not even close to 500.
I mean, I think it just goes to show that game management's a problem. And not only game management, I mean, play calling.
Panics.
Yeah, that's something that you can't do. I mean, kind of the moral of the story is that Arizona kind of broke down Sean McVay and the Rams when I don't think that needed to be the case. Arizona is a very good team. I'm not taking away from Arizona. I think that anyone who doubted that, who watched this game, now knows that they are a very, very good team. However, so are the Rams. So this game, if we had lost this game by a touchdown or even 2 touchdowns, but we had played well, it would have been, you know what, that's disappointing. It is what it is. But the way that we lost was just bad, in my opinion. I think it was just really sloppy. We looked very rattled. It was very surprising to watch. And the only solace that I have is I think the Rams can learn from this. I think the Rams and Sean McVay especially need to kind of evaluate the play calling and the way that they're doing things. I mean, things like Matthew Stafford overthrowing a receiver dropping a ball, that is, that's just personal for those players. They got to work on that. They got to be better themselves. But other things kind of like the defensive scheme, the play calling, whether we run the ball more, whether we don't, that falls on coaching and that falls on game plan. So they're going to have to look into that. And we have a short week. We play the Seahawks, another in-division rival, on Thursday, who have a quarterback very similar to Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. And we'll talk about that in our preview episode. But, Kyler Murray ran all over the Rams defense. So the Rams have 1, 2, 3 days to make sure that Russell Wilson doesn't do the same thing. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, I mean, there's really kind of like you and I talked about before the episode, there's really nothing much to say other than the Rams just had to put it simply, they had a bad game. They had a bad game. There's no really excuse, but the only hope is that they learn from this. They are able to come up with a new strategy and make adjustments, because if they don't, it's going to keep happening, because trust me, other NFL teams are going to have seen the tape from that game and maybe do the same stuff. I don't know. Disappointing, but do you have any closing thoughts on this game?
Just that, like you said, it's a bad game. I would say, if you're going to use Raheem Morris's, whatever, 10, there's a stat out there that's going on Twitter where people are trying to discredit Raheem Morris and saying that he hasn't had a top whatever defense in 10 years. This is his second year as a defensive coordinator. And some of those years, by the way, he was a wide receivers coach. So, I mean, it's just, there's a lot of misinformation out there. Be sure that you're going and checking for yourself. And if you're going to use, just total yards here, like I was saying with the scheme, yards don't matter. You're saying essentially that we don't care if we give up 500 yards. We just care about the end result. So if you're just going to hold the yards against Raheem Morris, well, that's the scheme. It's not that he's a bad coach. I mean, but on top of that, I see, Taylor Rapp's not covering wide receivers, whatever. I mean, different things I've seen. Taylor Rapp shouldn't be covering wide receivers. If Taylor Rapp is covering a wide receiver, remember what Jordan said. It means that the play didn't go the way it was supposed to. That means that something went wrong. So I would just say that while there are a lot of similarities to this scheme as to what Staley ran, I do think it is different to a degree. It's not the same defense. John Johnson, Troy Hill, Michael Brockers are not there. Morgan Fox, a key contributor last year, not there. Micah Kaiser, not there. So there are different players, but on top of that, they're implementing new things. They're trying to use that star position that Jordan mentioned with, Darius Williams, with Jalen Ramsey. I mean, they were never doing that last year. So it was supposed to be another step up. Now that you learn the system, let's add on to it. Now that we've installed the system, let's add on to it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more complicated. And I think because of that, there are definitely, players that are dropping the ball, and, there's miscommunication. There's going to be instances where there's not the execution that needs to be there. And, when you play a scheme like this, you have to have depth in your zone. You have to be able to have discipline in your zone. And that's a big issue. And it's why, somebody like David Long has given up nearly 200 yards in the first 4 weeks, because I think he struggled. Obviously he struggled, deep down the field to AJ Green. He struggled getting depth into his zone, against, DeAndre Hopkins. And I just think that, at this point, they need to start using Terrell Burgess, and they need to give Robert Rochelle a shot, because I do think, you're as strong as your weakest link. And right now, I do think that David Long is bringing down the defense, and, considerably, decent amount of that. But yeah, I mean, they'll bounce back, and I think they win Thursday. I'm not really too worried about it. I think this is more about how good the Cardinals were, and how we kind of slept on them, and less about how bad the Rams are. I think the Rams are still the number 2 team in football right now. The Cardinals, I'd have to put them number 1 in the power rankings. It'd be unfair to put the Rams number 1 since they just lost head to head, especially at home, and convincingly. But we'll see. The Cardinals are going up against the Niners and the Browns next. So, I think they're for real, but, they're about to get that same type of taste that the Rams just got. So we'll see if they're riding high coming off this win, and, if it hurts them in the next game, they get too confident, or they keep a level head and they do what the Rams don't. But this is the end of the Rams 3-game stretch. So if anything, if you want to look at it, any sort of take anything good away from this, the Rams beat Tampa. They lost to the Cardinals. They have a chance to go 2-1 on this really tough 3-game stretch. If they win in Seattle, then they have a long break. And then up and coming, they have the Giants, the Lions, the Titans, the Houston Texans. I mean, it's an easier stretch moving forward, but you got to get through Seattle. Going 4-1 to start the year, having played Arizona, Seattle, Tampa, the Bears, and the Colts, all of which, except for Arizona, were playoff teams last year. That would definitely be impressive. So those are my closing thoughts, Alexis. I would just say, if you have anything to take away from that, if they go 4-1 at that point, you have to keep in mind 4 out of 5 teams they played to start the season were playoff teams last season, and the teams coming up, it's a pretty easy portion of the schedule.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I said, we'll be back with an episode to preview the Rams versus Seahawks matchup here in a couple days. But yeah, that's it on that game. Hopefully we can all forget about that and move on ASAP. Because again, not a game that anybody wants to think about anymore. But guys, as always, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow us on social media at Downtown Rams. You can follow me at the Alexis Craft on Twitter, and you can follow Jake at JK Bogan. We will be back soon, because we have a short week. The Rams play the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. But until then, guys, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.
Bet with the 3-decade leader, BetUS. Join now for 125% bonus or 200% bonus with crypto using promo code RAMS125. And bet sports, casino, horses, pop culture, and more at betus.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DTR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and make sure to use code DTR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.